Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 20. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus is talking about judging, and he says, "Judge not, because when you judge, you're going to be judged in the same manner." And then he says, "And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but you not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove the speck in your eye,' but not consider the plank in your own eye?" So when you remove the plank out of your own eye, you will be able to see clearly to help your brother remove the speck out of his own eye. So do you get it yet? Are you acting like a fool? It's talking about behavior. How is your behavior? If you fail to analyze yourself, then you might as well call yourself a behavior problem.
Hello, universe of the world. My name's Billy, and that's all I'm gonna tell you because my mom said not to share information with the whole world because they might be stalkers. And you know what stalkers are? They grab you and they put you on a shelf in the store. What I have to tell you today is that I was taken home early from school because my mom was called by the teacher, and my teacher said that I was a behavior problem. And I said, "I'm not a behavior problem." And she said I was a bully, and I was bullying around my friends. No, that was not the story. I'm sorry. The story was they were bullying me first. And so I just pushed them all off of the playground equipment, and I can't help it if they broke parts of their bodies like their arms and their legs. The doctor can fix that, my mommy said. And then I go to the store, and my mommy says that I was being a behavior problem there. And I'm not a behavior problem. My little sister, she's only 4 years old. She pushed me into the candies, and they fell in my pocket, and I couldn't help that. And so when I got in the car after the store, I started eating the candies because I was like, they're in my pocket. And I was like, it's like a candy festival in my pocket. And my sister said, "Mom, he stole candy." I was a behavior problem. I didn't steal candy. It fell in my pocket. That's my story anyway. And then she says, "Go to your room and wait till your dad comes home." And I said, "Mom, I didn't do anything." And she said, "You have been a behavior problem the way you acted." And I said, "Fine." And I took the gum out of my mouth and put it in my sister's hair. And I said, "That's a behavior problem for you." And she said, "You need to quit making up stories and lying because your sister's a little perfect angel." Well, I have news for you. She's not. And I'm not a behavior problem. I don't want my dad to come home because if he comes home, I know that I'm going to get in trouble. And she said to wait for my dad to come home. And I'm not a behavior problem. I'm not just a boy. I'm a boy who likes to have fun. Yes, sometimes I get in trouble, but I'm not a behavior problem. So, goodbye, universe of the world. I'll let you know what happens, but I'm not a behavior problem. Farewell.
1 Timothy 4:12. Let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. Do what? Let me hear that again. In word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. So the way you behave is going to determine the influence you have on others. So Paul tells Timothy to be an example and to continue in the things of the Lord, because by doing this, through his behavior and through his speech, he's going to save both himself and those who hear him. Remember, analyze yourself daily, watch your behavior, make sure it's following after the things of God. Jesus loves you, and that's the real deal.